One of the Valencia competencies that I use quite frequently in my classes is critical thinking. Richard Paul, who is the foremost expert on critical thinking, defines critical thinking as thinking about your thinking. So if I can get my students to think about what I've just taught them, not just once, not just twice, but 3 or more times, then I'm instilling critical thinking into those classroom skills. One particular example that I can share with you that I do is every class period, when we start the class, I do what I call mental warm-ups. This is a review of what we did the previous day. And when I go through the material, this is virtually an oral exam. And I go over the material that has been covered and through what is called Socratic questioning. And then I link that material from the previous day to the material that we're going to cover the present day. That gets my students to think about what we just did the day before. And that connects the material to the material that we're just about to learn. Another example that I use to help students to think critically is that I give them open note tests. Now you might be thinking that's a little bit easy. Well, they're not really easy. If you do an open note test, that presumes that the students are taking all the notes down. It presumes that they're spelling every word correctly. And of course, these kinds of tests are very specific oriented. So when I do this, I have my students thinking once again about that material. In quote-unquote traditional classrooms, a professor or a teacher will come in and lecture, and then the student will take a test. Well, that professor only has the students thinking about their thinking or the material one time. But I, through the mental warm-ups, have my students thinking about the material. We have the classroom discussion and lecture. There's another time. Open note test is another time that they are going over that material again. So once again, according to the definition of Dr. Richard Paul, a student must think about his thinking or the material that you're going over. One more example. I do and have done what I call portfolio. I have my students type out their notes. And this helps in conjunction with taking an open note test. So when the students type their notes out in a very nice form, in virtually a portfolio or a book form, I have the students once again in the material, looking at it, discussing it, going over it. And these ways, these 3 examples that I've shared with you, do much more than having a student to take notes down and come in for a test and virtually regurgitate it, like a cow, and then they go back in a week later and they don't remember any of the material. It prevents students from stressing out the night before and cramming. It's just an excellent way of instilling one of Valencia's competencies, critical thinking, into my classrooms and into yours.